One of the things that I always wanted from other people that I don't think I was ever really able to get was a certain level of acceptance. I would basically just do anything and everything to like make people laugh or do something crazy or wild to just get some sort of approval or attention or acceptance from other people, where they would look at me and be like, oh yeah, Charlie, he's funny, or he's this, like he's cool. But in 2009, my father was diagnosed with liver cancer. It was starting to affect basically every part of his body. So his brain slowly was not able to process simple things. I remember him calling up the house and not even knowing how to get home from work. And that was just basically part of the way that we were seeing my father fall apart, essentially. And then it got to the point where he needed a liver transplant. So the doctor that he was seeing at that point basically said to him flat out that, you know, you have a limited time to live. It didn't really look that promising in terms of him getting a liver in the near future, so there was a possibility for someone to be a live donor. For some reason, I didn't really get that concerned about the prospect of doing that. I kind of just thought that's a no-brainer. Like, my dad's gonna die, so I'll donate my liver to my father. I didn't think about it too much. I just would think, wow, you know, this is great. My dad could possibly be fine, and you know, this could be all behind us at some point. But it wasn't until the actual morning of the surgery that I had a very, very interesting experience. And I remember vividly looking at the operating room and them kind of telling me to enter the operating room. I totally freaked out. And I remember asking the nurse to run to the bathroom or something. And I locked myself in the bathroom and I just started having a complete meltdown. And all the questions that I probably should have been thinking of maybe prior to that started running through my mind at that point. One of the main questions I kept asking myself was, what would happen to me if I actually died today? And I was raised, you know, in a pretty standard Italian Roman Catholic home on Long Island, so we all essentially believed in God. But at that point in my life, I didn't have any training or real understanding of what that actually meant practically. So I remember just praying and talking to God and having this moment where I just didn't know what was going on. And then it was almost as if it was out of nowhere that I realized clear as day that if I died that day, that I would not be with the Lord in heaven. I would not be with him. I just saw that clearly, that the way that I was living my life, all of the sin that was just that so entangled and enslaved me at that point, it was as if I knew that God was holy and that I would not be with him in his presence. Whatever that looked like at the moment, it like killed me and it destroyed me. And I was so overwhelmed with sorrow. And it's almost as if all the years of unrepentant sin in my life and all the ways that I would try to please myself and fill all the emptiness in my life was just like revealed to me. And in this weird just type of prayer with whatever was going on, what God was revealing to me, it was at that exact moment as well that I remember just thinking about Jesus. And trust me, that is not something that I probably thought about for years, just thinking about Jesus randomly, but it's as if it popped into my mind. And one of my favorite verses in the Bible is 2 Corinthians 5:21, that he who knew no sin became sin on our behalf, that we might become the righteousness of God in him. And it's as if I saw him in my mind nailed to the cross. And at that moment, I knew that that should be me. And God is so gracious enough to see me in the situation, to hear me and to listen to me, and even lead me somehow in my heart to understand who he is, and call to my mind all the things that I may have heard about him in my past. He just brought this to my mind. And then I said out loud, I said, I believe. I believed it. I literally believed it. It was not even a question of whether or not that was the truth, that was the answer to my prayers and to really everything in my entire life up to that point, that Jesus was literally the answer to all of those questions. And I got up and I opened the door out of the bathroom and I walked out of it as if I was a completely new person. So I lay down in the operating room and I was completely at peace. I don't even remember feeling any bit of fear at all at that point. It turned out that my father, myself, we had successful surgeries. And because God is so awesome and gracious, one of the nurses that was taking care of me, she wound up being just someone who loved Jesus very much. And it's like as if God put this person in my life to be my nurse, to take care of me at that point, spiritually and physically, which is so amazing. And God totally started rearranging my life in new and creative and awesome ways when I started reading His Word. It's not going to be a girlfriend. It's not going to be, you know, partying or having a reputation for being hilarious or crazy. That's going to make you feel accepted and truly loved and secure in life. It's going to be your relationship with me. One of the things that was really amazing was to learn the gospel, the story, the message that Jesus had proclaimed firsthand from the Bible. And through reading devotionals and through reading the Bible, I started to gain a deeper and a fuller understanding of who God was. And then that was allowing me to see who I am. And that's one of the questions that I've had wanting to been answered clearly my whole entire life. I've always asked myself, who am I? Why am I here? And it wasn't really until I started learning about who God was and what He had done in sending Jesus that I was able to answer those questions. My name is Charlie, and this is the story about how God completely changed my life. 2 Corinthians 5, verses 16 through 21. Therefore, from now on, we recognize no one according to the flesh. Even though we have known Christ according to the flesh, yet now we know Him in this way no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creature. The old things passed away. Behold, new things have come. Now all these things are from God, who reconciled us to Himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation, namely that God was in Christ reconciling the world to Himself, not counting their trespasses against them. He has committed to us the word of reconciliation. Therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, as though God were making an appeal through us. We beg you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. He made Him who knew no sin to be sin on our behalf, so that we might become the righteousness of God in Him.